Is the legacy $450 annual fee the Ritz-Carlton Credit Card still worth chasing today? We'll look at the features, how to actually get the card, its superpower, some pros and cons, and towards the end we'll talk about using the free night award and some tactics there as well. Big favor before we dive into everything is to give this a thumbs up to help with the algorithm. If you know someone that might benefit, then share this with them. Starting with the basics, this is a flagship card, and for that $450 annual fee, you are getting a bunch of benefits. The most tangible one in the long term would be the anniversary free night award that's up to 85,000 points. You get this every card member anniversary, so after the first year of the card, year 2, and so on. There are a bunch of terms here, but the key one for us is that they expire 12 months from issuance, so you cannot save them up. If you have a player 2, one strategy is to both get the card around the same time. That way you can stack 2 nights back to back for a trip. Again, we'll get into this later in the video, but for some people, the anniversary free night award might already make the annual fee worth it. The other major tangible benefit is up to $300 as an annual travel credit. Depending on you, this can be a bit tougher to use. It's meant to be used for airline incidentals, think lounge day passes, lounge memberships, seat upgrades, baggage fees, and in-flight fees. Normal tickets, by the terms, don't work. My suggestion would be seat selection for airlines like United that charge more for the studio experience. JetBlue does something similar for their planes, where you have to pay more to select the larger suite style seats. Outside of this, there are other ways to use it, and it might be easier than you think. This card provides Marriott Bonvoy Gold Elite status each calendar year. The main benefits are more bonus points, 2 p.m. late checkout when available, and also room upgrades, generally better views or higher floors in the same room type. Maybe a corner room if you're lucky, but technically not suites. Note that the status usually requires 25 nights, and you're only being granted the status, not the nights themselves. So if you are chasing higher status, you're not starting at 25. The card offers 15 elite night credits, ENCs, every year by holding it, so you start at 15. The status here is okay, and set your expectations. Depending on how you travel, the 3 club level upgrade certificates you get each year can be surprisingly valuable. Depending on the hotel, club level access can easily run $150 to $400 per night. You get 3 of these, and each of them are usable for a 7-night maximum paid stay. Depending on the locations, some of the lounges are pretty amazing. For example, one of our favorites is the one in Hong Kong, which has amazing views and also good food throughout the day. Not for everyone, but can be surprisingly valuable. If you are doing a lot of stays, there's also a repeatable complimentary $100 credit for qualifying dining, spa, and other hotel activities for paid stays at Ritz-Carlton or St. Regis's of 2 nights or more. I find this one just okay. I think VIP portals are a little bit better, but depends on you. A lot of the times, those are going to be in the same price range, but include breakfast and upgrades, and also late checkout. The last key benefit is Priority Pass. With this card, it's going to be for you and 2 guests. If you already have other flagship cards, then it might be a non-factor. The one potential draw above a lot of those would be Chase Sapphire Lounge access, especially if you have one at your home airport. At the moment, these are in Boston and Las Vegas, New York JFK and LaGuardia, Philly and Phoenix, and San Diego, which I've heard has a great one. Dallas and LA are coming soon. With most Priority Pass cards, you get 1 visit per calendar year. With the Chase Sapphire Reserve and the Ritz-Carlton Credit Card, primary and authorized users have access for themselves and 2 guests at no charge. The once per calendar year rule doesn't apply for these cards. Before we dive into the superpower and some other pros and cons, if you are looking to get the card, it is a little bit of a journey. You cannot directly apply for it, and the only way to get it is via a product change. That means that you need to have one of their cards. To product change, you need a Chase Marriott Bonvoy card, and you have 3 options right now. The Marriott Bonvoy Gold Credit Card, Marriott Bonvoy Boundless Credit Card, and Marriott Bonvoy Bountiful Credit Card. You cannot product change non-Chase cards, for example Marriott Bonvoy cards from other issuers. You also cannot product change from Chase cards that are not within the ecosystem, for example the United Explorer card or the Chase Sapphire Reserve. So pick one of the cards and you have 2 requirements. Number 1, the original card had to have been opened more than 12 months ago. Number 2, you have to have a $10,000 credit limit on the card. If you don't have the limit on that card but you do have it on other Chase cards, you can secure message them to move limits around before making the final product change request. You can generally move limits around from other Chase personal cards that are over their minimums. The obvious question is which of these cards is the best for our purpose. If your goal is to upgrade anyways after the first year, I'd probably pick the one with the elevated intro bonus. You're upgrading anyways, so I wouldn't be too stressed, and you might as well maximize your outcome. On a side note, if you are someone that wants to learn about cards, whether these 3 or pretty much any other card out there, and you want to support the channel, we have links on the website, asksabby.com, and also down below in the description box. Make sure the links are competitive, that they make sense for you, but otherwise it's a huge way to support the channel, so thank you in advance. Also, if you are looking to run the numbers, whether for the 3 cards or for the Ritz-Carlton Credit Card, we do have calculators that should pop up if you search card name worth it Ask Sabby. I'll also link them down below. Looking at the superpower of the card, we're going right back to lounge access. You get a priority pass, but so do your authorized users. There's no cost for you to add authorized users, and they get their own priority pass card that gets them in and also 2 of their guests. Depending on your family dynamic, this can be pretty powerful. For example, you could add your parents, siblings, spouse, or your kids. For example, my parents travel once a year, they live in suburbia, so they don't like the idea of credits, but they still like lounges. It probably helps that their annual trip is to Hong Kong, and HKG has 7 lounges. Lounges here are also a lot better than the ones in US, with Kyra being a standout. In fact, it won Asia Pacific Lounge of the Year for 2025. Similarly, if you have kids off in college or adult-age kids traveling without you, this could be an easy value add. The superpower could also work if you and your player 2 travel separately for work and you don't want 2 annual fee cards. For example, let's say you're in New York and you want access to the LaGuardia Lounge. With the Chase Sapphire Reserve, you can add them as an authorized user, but the cost there is $195 per year compared to no cost. One thing I'd strongly recommend for both you and your authorized users is to bring your physical cards. In the past, people have had issues with the Priority Pass app pretty much not recognizing the card correctly, but if you had your physical card, then it'd be fine and would work out. If you don't see yourself adding authorized users, then the superpower might be a non-factor. There is a big disadvantage of this card, and it's with Air Canada lounges. The Chase Sapphire Reserve has access to select Air Canada Maple Leaf lounges and Air Canada cafes for themselves and 1 guest when flying Star Alliance on the same day. That's not the case for the Ritz-Carlton Credit Card. A bit different, but the multipliers here are also not the greatest. You get 6x at the Marriott Bonvoy brand, 3x for dining, car rentals and airline purchases, and 2x on everything else. If you're newer to points, this sounds pretty good, but the issue is what you're earning. This card earns Marriott Bonvoy points, which are very different from Chase Ultimate Reward points if that's your baseline, and also very different from cashback. For example, for premium travel, a lot of people target 2 cents per point for Chase, and then maybe 0.8 for Marriott Bonvoy. Just up and down for your purpose, but that might mean that 6x for Marriott Bonvoy hotels might end up being 4.8% back in value, while for dining, car rentals, and airline purchases, 3x might feel more like 2.4%. 2x on everything sounds good, but might be closer to 1.6% in value. Your mileage may vary, but the only category that I would spend on is Marriott Bonvoy, and even then, that's a little bit debatable. Yeah, there's no cash out path here, and the ideal path is hotels. Technically, there is a secondary path of flights, and I'll cover that, but it's still not ideal. Maybe it makes sense for intro bonuses, but it's tough to recommend for the spend side. I'll talk more about redemptions in a second because it is its own rabbit hole. Moving to some pros, outside of everything that we already covered, one benefit that might surprise you is that this card is serviced by the JP Morgan Premier Concierge. That means that you get the same team as the JP Morgan Reserve card for a lot of your phone calls. In my experience, phone calls are picked up a lot faster, and the agents seem pretty knowledgeable. One that's nice, but technically can't get this elsewhere with Visa Infinite, is car rental status and benefits. For example, Avis Preferred Plus, 5-star status with Hertz, Emerald Club executive level membership of National, and then 6th Platinum status. Speaking of car rentals, the card also comes with primary CDW collision damage waiver, which is expected, but good to know that it's there. Most of the other benefits you'll see on other premium cards, and same thing with a lot of the other insurance-based benefits. Okay, with that said, let's do a deep dive on the 85,000 point anniversary free night award. As of the March 2026 update, you can actually now top off of up to 25,000 additional Bonvoy points. That does mean that you're tapping into your Bonvoy points, but it gives the 85k certificate a bit more range. 85k plus 25k top off is up to 110k. With that said, let's look at some options. We'll start with the fan favorites of Hawaii, and the best times to go to avoid crowds but still have good weather is shoulder season, so between April and May, and September and October. Let's take a look at the Ritz-Carlton Turtle Bay in Oahu, and it is a pretty pricey hotel, but also a nice one. Even during shoulder season in September, it floats around $900. It is a bit pricier during Labor Day week, but otherwise $900. Also note that this is within the standard range for non-points people, so a pretty fair comparison. Toggling over the points, we see a bunch of availability for the 11th, 16, 17, 20, 21, 22, and 23. In these cases, since it's at or below 110K, you can use the certificate. There also is an autograph collection option that's worth considering in the same $1,000 price range. The hotel looks pretty nice, and it might be a good pick if you are after value over brand name. I haven't been here though, so let me know if it's worth visiting because it's one I am considering. Taking a look at pricing for September, everything is north of $1,000 and tends to float in that 1,100 range. Switching over to points, it's pretty much wide open for the entire month other than Labor Day weekend. Even better here is that you can find it for as low as 88K, so minimal top off, only 3K additional. One hotel that we have been to and that we're big fans of is the Ritz-Carlton Kyoto. This is a 1 Michelin key hotel and a great pick if you're in the area. It's also just beautiful and I'd happily recommend it. Taking a look at the points calendar for early September, there are some dates that work, so September 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. Also September 6th. Going up a month to August, we see a bunch of dates towards the end of September that also work. For example, the 17th all the way to the 21st, and also 23rd all the way to the 28th. For the cash price for this period, you're looking at 133K yen, so that's about $850 US. It depends on you, but most people would happily pay $500 to $600, so a great use of a certificate and also points. If you do end up going, they have a 1 Michelin star tempura restaurant downstairs in the basement called Mizuki. This is probably the best tempura I've ever had in my life, and if you are there, even if you're not staying at the hotel, I would try to go for lunch. The meta for a lot of these expensive restaurants is that it's about half the price for lunch compared to dinner, but you have a lot of the great hits for lunch anyways. If you're looking to do Tokyo instead, the Ritz-Carlton there is pretty nice, it has amazing views, and you're pretty high up. In case you're curious, at the time of completion in 2007, it was actually Tokyo's tallest building. Looking at the points calendar, early September works with even a 98.5K night. Looking at late August, same idea, and you actually have 2 of these nights, but otherwise, a bit of top off isn't too bad. The retail price during this period is a bit lower, in the 85,000 yen range, so about $550. Still though, this ends up covering the annual fee and worth it for a lot of people. Also, if you consider that a Courtyard Marriott, which is quite a few notches down, can run you $400 to $450, $550, a bit more for Ritz-Carlton, feels more than reasonable. I'm not going to run through all the Japan options because there are a ton, but I'd also consider the addition. Same idea here, early September is easiest, and also late August. The benefit of this period is fewer travelers and lower prices, so it feels less crowded, but it is pretty hot and humid. If you're not looking to travel as far as Japan or Hawaii, then consider California with the Ritz-Carlton Half Moon Bay. It's about an hour away from San Francisco and great if you're either into golfing or want a quiet weekend. The prices here are pretty erratic, but plenty of availability if you're flexible. For example, 2-3, 7-8, or 14-15. The retail prices for these dates are in the $1,000 range, so great value. If you're not looking to stay at hotels, you can technically transfer your points to airlines, but the rates aren't the best. The transfer rate is 3 to 1, so 30,000 Bonvoy would be 10,000 airline miles, and they have a bunch of partners. In addition, for every 60,000 Bonvoy points transferred, they do add an extra 5,000 miles, and you'd probably want to do this if you are making a transfer. Still though, even with this, 60,000 Bonvoy plus 20K plus the 5K bonus would be 25K miles. That means that this only really makes sense if you have a redemption in mind, lined up, and you're targeting airlines that are not traditional transfer options for bank programs. I would not proactively transfer to an airline for fun if you don't have a use case, and I also wouldn't transfer to an airline that's traditionally weak. For example, as much as I like Delta and Delta One Suites, Delta miles are not the greatest for upside, and I wouldn't want more Delta miles because I'm already sitting on a ton and I'm having a hard time using them. So transferring Bonvoy wouldn't make sense because Bonvoy has more flexibility there and also better options. Overall, I think it's a very strong card. If you travel, there's a good chance you'll get value. For example, if you go to a nice St. Regis or Ritz-Carlton at least once a year that you would otherwise pay for out of pocket anyways, then you're in a good spot and it's a keeper card. That's what the tangible benefits you get after discounting are greater than the annual fee. Without spoon feeding, the 300 is pretty tangible. Let's say you discount it by 10 or even 20%, 300 times 90% is 270, and 80% is 240. For the anniversary free night award, it's pretty easy to target 300 to 500 in value. Adjust for your situation, but if you do account for both of these, you might be looking at between 540 to 770 in value without being too aggressive. Those two things by themselves might already make the card worthwhile. That's before considering Elite status, how it might be a stand-in for the Chase Sapphire Reserve, and Priority Pass for yourself. The superpower of authorized users is the icing on the cake and makes it S tier for a lot of people. Again, if you want to learn about cards, whether these ones or pretty much any other cards out there, and you want to support the channel, we have links on the website, asksabby.com, and also down below in the description box. And if you're curious, all legal affiliate disclosures can also be found below in the description box. If you made it to this point, leave a cake emoji in the comments down below, and I'll try to heart it and also respond. 3 questions. Number 1, what are your thoughts on the card? Number 2, who would you add as an authorized user? And number 3, where would you use the anniversary nights? Let me know and everyone else know in the comments down below. Big favor, thumbs up, share this, but otherwise hope you liked it. See you next time.